So people always ask me, well, how do you get started in home automation and what should you do? Just pick something. Pick something that you want to mess with and mess it up. Go buy something. Play with it and then just expand out. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a huge guilt trip on you. When you pick that something, pick it with a plan. Are you going to just do a couple of things in somebody's house and, yeah, that's really cool? Or are you going to automate their whole house? And are you going to go the Wi-Fi route or are you going to go the Z-Wave route? And are you going to look at their bandwidth or not look at their bandwidth? So pick something great, but as you go out further, think about the direction you're going to go with the infrastructure that you have. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
Well, a lot of times it's going to come down to what the person can afford.
Right. If they're out-of-pocketing the whole thing, sure. So the difference between Z-Wave and Wi-Fi is probably $20 per thing. And so that's an added expense. I don't use Z-Wave in my house because I didn't do it to begin with. And now I don't want to cash in all this crazy stuff that I bought already. I'm kind of stuck with the Wi-Fi option. But if you're not stuck with it and you can bankroll it, sure. So if you guys are thinking about going out and home automating somebody's house, I would seriously tell you, get a hub, Z-Wave it, work some numbers, figure out how you're going to do it, and do it. Otherwise, just DIY some crazy Amazon-y stuff. So you need a house, you need a tablet, and you need to get some apps and some stuff. Simple as that, and just start playing. People always ask me, how come you don't bring home automation systems when you come to a hotel? Because it'd probably take me about 3 hours to make everything work really happily, and there's just no way you can do it. So we just do a lot of video. So, did you guys all get this handout?
Yes.
The house handout. Yeah. So what I want you guys to do is just have a little bit of fun. I want to make this as interactive as possible. Use that layout of a home, and we're going to do this twice. Once just for fun, just pick some stuff. Try to pick areas of the home that you might want to automate. You may not know what you're going to put in there because I haven't told you yet. But just experiment in your head. What's in the house right now that you might want to automate and play with it? What I wrote on this sheet of paper is, where are you going to do it? What's the function? Is it going to turn something on or off? Is it going to cool things? Is it going to light things? Is it going to be a camera? What device are you going to use? You have no idea because I haven't really talked about devices. So just kind of do a really quick map. I'm going to give you 4 minutes and think about that for a second. If you have any questions, I'll come around and talk to you if I've totally confused you. And don't worry about whether it's Z-Wave or Wi-Fi because we're going to, again, beat that up in a few minutes. But explore. You can do this for yourself or you can do this for somebody else. Can I steal one of these glasses? With that? Yes.
Like that on-off thing that you were talking about, what would you call it?
Your name is?
Nancy.
Nancy just asked a brilliant question. She said, what happens with power surges? Generally with power surges, everything reboots. Everything comes back on. Routers especially. So every time you have a power surge and you're using home automation, you're going to discover you're going to come home one day in the middle of the day and all your stuff's on because you got a power surge while you were out. Because what happens with power surges is all those devices re-default to their basic on setting and everything's on. So if you have places with a lot of power surges, just be prepared. It will recycle. It usually takes about 12 hours. It will recycle and get back into the pattern it's supposed to get into. But generally speaking, brownouts, same thing. Power outages, same thing. The other favorite time of the year where home automation goes crazy? Daylight savings. Because routers don't always sync with the time in real time. And so all of a sudden the timing in the router is not in sync with the rest of the world. So a majority of my time in fixing problems is during daylight savings, because I got to go out and reset stuff and find out why the router has the wrong time and blah, blah, blah. But I still think home automation is super cool. You're going to do this again, and I guarantee you, you're going to have some solutions for whatever you're drawing on your map. Write on there something that doesn't exist and will never exist. Feel free to do that. Because I had somebody who came into my office with a dream, and we actually figured out how to solve the problem. So, dream. How about one more minute, and then I want some people to share what your current vision is to automate your home. Start with that front porch all the way to the left. Somebody just shout it out. Anybody have anything for that front porch that they'd want to do there? Lights, camera, doorbell with a camera, like that. Say again? For the door? Yeah? Okay, cool. Hey, and you know, that brings up a really important point. Home automation works well with accessibility that may not be home automation, if that makes any sense. So strike plate, great. So we'll get even weirder when we won't talk about the home automation piece. Anything else for the front porch?
Maybe like a notification for like someone arriving or departing.
Perfect. No synthetic dogs? Nobody picked synthetic dog barker? No? They're real. They exist. They have croaking frogs, too, that are motion sensitive. Okay, so what about the dining room living area? Philips Hue. Why Philips Hue? Because you like colors. Here's a man who likes mood lighting. I like it. And not all Philips Hues are created equally, which is unfortunate. Anything else for the living room? Thermostat, okay. Excellent. You gave away part of my presentation, but we're going to get there. Yeah, he's going to automate his television. So remember the television override problem? Well, the Logitech solves that problem. So we'll get to that in a second. What about what is that? The living room? Anybody for living room, dining room, anything else? So basically we've talked entertainment, lighting, security, HVAC. That's usually what most people start with. Yes? Curtains and blinds. Oh my gosh, am I going to show you a video about curtains and blinds? That was the bane of my life, was automatic curtains and blinds. I'm so glad you brought that up. All right, what about the kitchen?
Coffee.
Say again?
Coffee pot.
Coffee pot. Interior doors. Excellent. Refrigerator. Monitoring or controlling? Both? Okay. Here's a man with a plan who's got about $6,000 in his pocket. What about bedroom? Lights? Light in the closet? Motion? Temperature? So here's an interesting thing about what's happening with home automation is you can now do zone controlling. So zone controlling, if you work with people who have really weird problems regulating their temperature, most HVAC systems only control where the thing is mounted on the wall. They don't do zone controlling. Well, now Nest, with their new thermostat, just came up with a way to put pods in different parts of the house to cool specific locations. Here's the downside to those darn pods, is it converts the whole house to that temperature. So think about it for a second. If you have a bedroom that's furthest away from an HVAC and that person's in that bedroom and they want it at 68, that pod will make it go to 68 degrees, but it might be 62 and 60 in all the other parts of the house. Does that make sense? So because it's zone control is amazing. My friend Barry, he's hot all the time. We wanted to zone control his room. We didn't want to do a whole HVAC system, so we were able to do that. Okay, bathroom. Turn on the shower. Okay. So it automatically comes on and warms up so it's ready for you? Okay. Anybody else? The porch light? Well, I'm going to go back to the bathroom because I just bought one of these and I think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. A toilet illuminator. It's motion sensitive. I don't have to turn on all the lights in the house to go use the restroom at night. I walk in and suddenly the bowl of my toilet is whatever color I want. And it uses motion. And it is so frippin' cool. It's enough light, and I think I paid like $12 for it. It's enough light that it illuminates the entire bathroom. So I consider that home automation because it works. Can I control it with my Wi-Fi? No, I can't. That'd make my wife crazy if I could do that. Okay, so you guys got the general idea. You can control some stuff. You have a pretty creative mind about what you're going to do. So let's just get granular now. Let's talk plugs. So I put this YouTube video on here that I'm hoping you can watch later. The guy who does this YouTube video is a super nerd. And he goes and finds every single plug available on the market and just rips it to shreds and talks about it. We would be here for literally hours. So if you're in a nerdy mind about how do all these plugs work, watch this guy's video. I screenshot that little display that he had in his video. I'd love to give the guy credit, so watch his video. But Wemo and Martin Jerry, I just installed this. This is that 2.4 gigahertz problem that I was telling you about, where Wemo works with a 5 gigahertz system if you have a 5 gigahertz system. So all plugs do is turn electrical current on and off. That's all they do. When I'm sitting on my couch, I tell Alexa to turn on my fan. My fan does not have an on override on it. I set it to 1, and it automatically turns my fan on, and I don't have to get up off my couch to do it. Somebody with a physical disability might want to control different fans around their house to cool themselves off. That's what these things do. They don't turn on light bulbs and stuff like that. They just turn current on and off. And they usually have an override switch on the side. You push it and it turns it on. So those are the two examples. This guy's presentation is great, but if you look at the price of all that Z-Wave stuff on there, it's a lot more expensive than Wi-Fi. So if you have somebody who doesn't have a ton of money and they want to automate just a couple of things, Wi-Fi is still the cheaper way to go. It's just not great if you're going to do the whole darn house. Any questions about plugs? Because he likes those the most. And I don't own either one of those. Those were his favorites. And he had reasons for why they were his favorites, and I can't remember. Light bulbs. So I'm a big fan of teaching people where to find stuff. And right now, the best place to find stuff is on Amazon. But I'm going to walk through what happens when you go to Amazon to look for light bulbs that are Wi-Fi home automated controlled. And we're going to walk through some of the pitfalls of what happens when people look at them. So what's really cool is Amazon's starting to tell you, and I don't think they're on, which one is it on? Oh yeah, here it is. They're starting to tell you whether something is Wi-Fi controlled, Google controlled. It's just a light bulb. You're not controlling a plug. You're just screwing a light in. You're connecting it with an app and your Wi-Fi. You're turning it on and off. And then after you do that, you connect it to a home automation system that allows you to use voice. The problem is when you're looking at all these light bulbs, there's some hidden pitfalls. Let me see if I can find some. Oh yeah, here's the first one right here. And all you Hue people, don't give it away. If you're not a Hue person, you need to pay attention. What's that thing right there? It's a hub. So I cannot install those light bulbs unless I put the hub into my router. So that other light bulb I showed you right here, that doesn't need a hub. I can just screw that into a socket and away rock and roll. But just looking at this, they don't, it says bulbs hub compatible. You kind of have to remember what's a hub, what does it do? Well, that hub literally controls all those lights, and it doesn't work without it. So you have to be able to look at images and go, oh yeah, that's controlled with a hub. I don't know if we want to stick that in this guy's house or this gal's house because blah, blah, blah reason. This one, which I think really cracks me up, they put it underneath the Wi-Fi controlled. Well, this is a device controlled light. So it's not Wi-Fi controlled. It's just you're just using an on-off, remote on-off switch. All right, if somebody can do that, great. But you have to be savvy enough to understand that that's what it's doing. So when you go through Amazon to buy all this stuff, you have to pay attention to details. And I think there's another one on here. And I don't know if I'm going to see it. But there are some light bulbs that you can control through Bluetooth. So that enters in one more paradoxical problem. So what is Bluetooth? You don't need Wi-Fi for Bluetooth. You just need to turn your Bluetooth on, connect the bulb to your device via Bluetooth, and then control the bulb. You cannot do it remotely because it has to be within range of Bluetooth, but it's Bluetooth controlled. I am not a fan of Bluetooth controlled anything. I'm going to repeat that one more time. I am not a fan of Bluetooth controlled anything because it's limited. Basically, it's like infrared. I could use my phone to control it if it's right there, but if I'm somewhere in my house, the Bluetooth may or may not work. So if you see the word Bluetooth connected to a bulb, you might want to think twice about it. The whole idea of changing colors, people are excited about that you can set mood lighting. We're going to talk about Ifttt before I go. And Ifttt is creating recipes. So if I know someone's coming over to my house, it will turn certain lights in the house green. Or if I got an email from the electrical company, it flashes red in my house that I just got my email from my bill from my electrical company. You can get super crazy about this stuff. Any questions about bulbs? You guys just not a question-y group, are you?
We're soaking it all in.
Are you soaking it all in? All right. How many of you are overwhelmed as we're soaking it all in? A few of you? So tell me what you think is overwhelming so far. What are you overwhelmed by? If you can articulate it.
I get the plug part.
Right.
Beyond that, I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
The hub
And it's a fair reason to be overwhelmed. And part of, thank you for saying that, part of when I do presentations is to overwhelm people because I want them to understand it's not peaches and cream. This is kind of hard stuff. And so the reality is, and you just said it, and I like what you said, you get plugs. So that's where I'd start. Start with a plug, because you get it. But then all this other hub nonsense and all this other Y nonsense, maybe that's just not a place you want to go right now. But realize that when you're talking to somebody about home automation, there's a lot of other nonsense that you're going to have to explain to them. And it's not the panacea that people want it to be. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. I won't pick on you too much. Okay, so we're going to talk about two thermostats because, you know, they're kind of the mainstay that everybody uses. I have a Nest thermostat. A lot of people use it. A lot of energy companies give out, do you guys get Nest thermostats now from your energy company to save on stuff? Yeah. So they're dishing them out like candy. A lot of people are using the ecobee thermostat. That's neither here nor there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a promotional Nest video from Nest. And while you're listening to it, I want you to listen for opportunities that it might be used with someone with a disability. And part of the game is to always be paying attention to the noise to figure out, oh my gosh, I could use it for that purpose. Maybe we should do that. So I'm going to play that video and let's see if this makes sense. And I got to remember the motions. Turn off my thing. How we doing now? Good, perfect. Okay, so one of the things that's a promotional video that I really like a lot is it shows somebody leaving the house and their thermostat going off. So they geofence, which is super cool. It can be controlled by some other device, which is super cool. And it also learns, which is even cooler. So what learning means is if I wake up every day and I set my thermostat to 90 degrees, I only have to do that like 3 days in a row, and it automatically learns that behavior. I don't have to do that every single day. So if I'm a PCA or somebody working in somebody's home, and I know somebody does something at a particular time, and I'm adjusting it time and time again, I can stop doing that behavior after 3 days because it will automatically do it on its own. And so that makes people more and more independent because it doesn't require somebody else to do it, if that makes any sense at all. So they're Wi-Fi enabled. They're not Z-Wave. You control it with an app. Super cool.
Can you explain
So
Geofence?
geofence means I tell something that I want to pay attention to a certain location. So let's say I tell it that I live over here on this star, right? And I draw a line around this star. And whenever I walk out of that star, it's going to do something.
You're saying geofence.
Fence.
I wrote down fix.
Fix, fence. Fence. You create this fence.
That makes sense.
So you can do it with a location, but you can also do it with things. And remember we talked about earlier that you can define things that it will notify you for. So geofencing is super cool. We track our devices in our loan library with geofences. So if somebody takes a Missouri device to California, we get a notification to tell us that it's going. You know, I'll tell you something super scary. How many of you guys are security paranoid people? No? A couple? So I'm... yeah, there you go. We're working with Microsoft because Microsoft developed a software program called Azure. And Microsoft came to our loan library and they said, hey, we'd like to work with you guys to track your equipment. Super cool. And then we said, okay, what else can you do? And they said, well, we can tell you when it's on, when it's off. And we're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a really cool idea. So we're working with them and we're sending them all these devices that have Wi-Fi in them. And the guy reveals to me that every single Wi-Fi device now has GPS tracking, regardless of what it does. If it connects to Wi-Fi, it has a GPS chip embedded in it, and it can always tell you where that thing is. So I didn't realize that some of the crazy stuff that we're talking about here all had that embedded in it, and sure enough, they all do. So if you're paranoid, stop using Wi-Fi stuff.